So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back once again to the Watch Market Update Show. You know that we are a public service watch announcement. If I may say, we are the only, and I mean the only public service watch announcement channel out there that's bringing you at least the truth that we believe that we're bringing you is the truth. So, we want to welcome all of you here. Welcome to the show, DJ. We want to welcome all of you to the show. Guys, don't forget to please give us a thumbs up. And please don't forget, if you're new to the channel, you won't regret it. And I promise you, you will not regret it. Hit that bell and subscribe to the channel. They're trying to hold us back, but they're trying to hold us back. You put the word that I'm missing in there. Ladies and gentlemen, today has been an unbelievable day. It has been an unbelievable day. I have been for many years a person that has really believed in gold for many years. But for the past, I can tell you, for the past 3 years, I've been telling you people about gold, and I got a lot of slack for that. I got a lot of slack. That who made you the king of gold, and who are you, and are you an advisor? I'm none of the above. I'm none of the above. I'm not no financial advisor. I'm not going to tell you to buy gold, to sell gold. I'm just telling you what I like, what I like. I want to get this clear with all of you. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know nothing about that. I only do a lot of reading and I hear a lot of stories. But, I told you guys for a long time, whoever's here that's been around for a while in this channel, they know that I've been telling you to buy, to look into gold. And ladies and gentlemen, I remember that I started, talking about going this channel when we were somewhere in the, safe number, I would say $1,600 a troy ounce of gold. A troy ounce of gold, $1,600. And people, would get kind of annoyed because I was, talking about that. I'm not supposed to know about that. I'm supposed to be, a person that doesn't understand those things. But I had a little knowledge. I have a couple of people that I know, and they knew a lot about gold, and they were giving me the head start. So today we reached a number that, ladies and gentlemen, I only I'm not gonna say that I dreamed about it, but I said, wow, man, that's a number, like, it's very far, like very far to get to that number. Then when it was 1,600, it went to 2,000. It was kind of far, but it made it to 2,000. And then again, far, seeing it from 2,000 to 3,000, a troy ounce of gold, it went to 3,000. And ladies and gentlemen, to my astonishment, gold hit today $4,000 a troy ounce. And it's scary. It's scary because the way it's behaving is behaving, with a lot of anxiety and tension and stress. I'm talking about gold, not me, gold, And today, right now, it's at $4,015 and going up. I can say right now 4,016 because it just keeps on going, that clock count, it just keeps on going. It's hard for me to even explain to you because, it's unbelievable. And the way it's moving, the way it's moving, the way gold is moving is scary. And so again, I want to tell all of you that rhodium, the material rhodium is at $7,075. Palladium is just going up as well, moving on up. Palladium is at $1,385. Platinum is at $1,658. Silver is at $47.89. $47.89 a troy ounce. And your favorite, gold again is at $4,015. I have talked to you pretty much about that gold is the new Bitcoin. And I've had a couple of people reach out to me, thank you, Damon. Thank you, Damon. Thank you very much. I told all of you out there again. I have told all of you out there that I believe that gold is the new Bitcoin. And some people have asked me, so what do you mean is, the next Bitcoin? And I'm gonna give an explanation because I told the person, listen, if you see my live stream, I'm gonna give it there to you because I want to say it one time and everybody can hear it and they can watch it. We don't get a lot of views in this live stream, but I'm gonna tell you what it is. Uh, so my my belief that gold is the next Bitcoin, I'll tell you. At this moment, if you buy one of those Bitcoins, those cryptocurrency, let's say it's $125,000, right? $125,000. At this moment, a kilo of gold is at, let's round it off to $129,000. Bitcoin is 125. A kilo of gold is $129,000. Look at it, same old thing. So you understand what I'm trying to say, right? You understand? 125 for the Bitcoin, 129 for the kilo of gold. Beautiful, right? Gold has been around forever. It's been around forever. No hay que ser, you don't have to be a dummy to understand this. Gold has been around forever. From the Ten Commandments, gold has been around forever, right? And Bitcoin was invented by the ICA, allegedly. These are my feelings, I don't care what you think. I don't care. Lo que tú piensas, yo me lo paso por el orto. This is what I think. It was invented in 2009. Gold has been around since, Moses, and Bitcoin was invented in 2009, most probably by the ICA. If you don't understand what the ICA is, you put the letters together. You play with them, right? We got that, right? We got that. So, you have some countries like China and Russia that you can't mine. You cannot be, mine Bitcoin. You can't do that. In China, they don't want you to mine. They want the people, that they can't play with Bitcoin. They can't pay with Bitcoin because, the government doesn't want them to transfer money from China to Miami, Florida, to Flagler, Flagler Street here in Miami. They don't want that. So lo tienen pisado. They're all tighten up. You can't do that. Don't touch that. Don't play with that. None of that, right? At all. They don't want you over there in China. You cannot play with that, right? But you can play with gold in China. They buy all the gold in the world. But not that invented thing that invented in 2009. You understand? So then you have Russia. Russia, lets the Russians play a little bit with it. Play and pay with it, with this and that. But they're under control. You know what I'm saying? You got China and you got Russia. That guy, the Russian guy. Yeah, you can pay some things, do this, do that, but they have you under control. I said two countries, two powerful countries. One more time, two powerful countries cannot really play too much with Bitcoin. But they buy all the gold in the world. They buy all the gold in the world, ladies and gentlemen. It's unbelievable. Another thing that I want to tell you, in the U.S., in the United States, if they catch you with Bitcoin and you're doing some kind of, money laundering, trafficking, Tylenol pills, you know what I'm trying to say? You're doing fraud, you're doing this. They seize your Bitcoin and you're over. You're over. But they won't touch your gold. It's a different story. Unless you're Bob Menendez from New Jersey, you know who Bob Menendez is? I guess I'm sure you guys don't know who Bob Menendez is, but it's a fella that over there from New Jersey somewhere, a politician. When they got him in his house, they got him with a stack of gold, pure gold, pure gold. One more time, unless you're Bob Menendez, Congress guy, one of those big shots. Loaded up with gold, stacks of gold, right? Bob Menendez and some cash, some Franklins, you know? Did he know something that we didn't know? Did he know something we didn't know? Why was he stacking up on so much gold, ladies and gentlemen? You know what I'm trying to say, Mr. Julius out of Miami. It's been already the last, if you've been here for a couple of minutes, I already told everybody out there that Bitcoin was invented by the ICA. But thank you very much. Maybe you heard me say that. But I already said it to them so they know where Bitcoin came from. If we get a thunder, a lightning at the TV tower, listen to me, guys. Today I've been, a little bit stressful at work, But if it goes off, it's gone and that's it. But I want to tell you so you understand, what Bitcoin can happen to you if you're fooling around. The U.S. government will seize your Bitcoin y te jodiste y más nada, but not your gold, not gold. They don't, they don't want to play. But Bobby Menendez, man, they got him with a stack of gold. But nobody was asking themselves, why is this guy, why is this Bob Menendez stacking up on gold? Nobody, because we don't, somos unos lambones, somos lambones y palomo, we don't think. Tenemos la cabeza solamente para pelo, So, that happened. You know what I'm trying to say? That happened. And ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this now, you're going to go, coño. But ladies and gentlemen, where there is truth, and you say it. Don't feel shy. Just say it. Gold is outperforming. Gold is outperforming Bitcoin. So, something that's been around since Moses. Gracias, papi. Gracias, Nelson. Thank you very much. You tell them, Nelson. Don't tell me. You tell them. They're not ready for this. They're not like us. They're not like us. They're not like us. All the way up. All the way up. They're not like us. But that's how it is. You understand me? Outperforming Bitcoin. Bitcoin was introduced, implanted there by that group, the ICA, in 2009, and gold has been around since Moses. Moses, the 10 Commandments. It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. I got to slow down because I'm getting agitated, I'm getting agitated because I want to keep on telling you things, ladies and gentlemen, so you guys can open up your horizons and see far away. Because I gotta play stupid at times, because if I tell you too much, I'm gonna lose you, and I don't wanna lose you. So I go easily. We have somebody here as an organic watch channel subscriber, and he's telling you the dots. Put them on, put the dots, put it, and you follow it, and you're gonna get to find out what's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a government shutdown, papi. A government shutdown is probably going on his, I don't know, 8th day. How many days is the, how many days? How many days is the shutdown? I don't know. We still have people here talking about the seas of 1933 and 1972. Papi, we spoke about that chapters in chapter 28. You go back to chapter 28 so you can see what happened in 33 and what happened in 72. Papi, we got it all covered here for free. It don't cost you nothing. It doesn't cost you nothing. I just give it to you for free. Porque yo soy un lambón. Yo soy un lambón. So we have the government, shutdown. We have politics that they are arguing all over the world, The dark forces. The dark forces. You guys don't want to hear that. You guys want to continue skip hopping around through life like bunny rabbits. Because that's what you want. But today, since it's been a powerful day all around for me, I have to give it to you. I say, no, I have to give it to these people so they understand what's happening. I have to. People are skip hopping around, and I have to continue giving it to you. We have problems. We have a weaker dollar. A weaker dollar. The dollar today buys you a penny. A dollar buys you today a penny, ladies and gentlemen. No sean huevones. no sean gilipollas, no sean palomos, no sean lambones y palomos. Don't be crumb bums, sandbags, window lickers, crayon eaters, tomato cans, possum kickers, cow tippers. You cannot continue living that way, papi. That's why the world is the way it is. Because it's only me doing this and the rest sacándose los mocos y comiéndoselo. You understand me? You know, picking on their nose and eating the boogers. That's what they're doing. So I gotta do this so I can get at least 26 people awake of what's going on. Es una jodienda, papi. Es una jodienda totalmente lo que está pasando en el mundo. It's totally a bad situation what's happened. You got over there. I keep on telling you every day so you don't forget. Because these people want you to forget. You know, they want to get you distracted with, Diddy P. You know Diddy P? You know, that guy, Diddy P. And they want to get you distracted with this, Steen, that guy, they distracted. But they got some boats over there, some destroyers over there, just pointing out there, and they're spending $8 million daily. $8 million. And they're making it real difficult, for those politicians over there, in Pennsylvania Avenue, Es una locura lo que está pasando. And gold will continue to move like pumping gas. When you see the numbers in the pumping gas, they go like that. That's how it's going. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. Porque hay muchas cosas pasando. Too many things happening around the world. You got too many things happening, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm telling you, that inflation that we have here, you guys probably don't even see it. You guys probably don't even see it, You guys don't see it. I've been telling you guys where the goal is at, and people still believe, no, it's in Fort Knox. The first thing you do is you say you want to see where the goal is at. Let's do a 60-minute special and let's show these Americans, lambones, where all the goal is at. Papi, they won't show it to you. They're not. There's nothing there, papi. There's nothing in there. I already told you how much gold is. It's 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools, 164 by 82 by 6.7 feet deep. 3, 3 and a little bit more you need to fill it up. Papi, no hay oro por ningún lado. Estamos jodidos. And then there's not people, if there will be people like me out there that you're promoting that word with your other friends, your other chums, your other people that work with you, te pones inteligente. You get the rest of the world, intelligent. But no somos así. We're not like that. We're not. You have the S&P 500. I know a little bit. I'll throw a little bit to you guys. The S&P 500, NASDAQ, all these people, the Dow Jones, para abajo, papi, no hay dinero, jodido. Y la gente hablando de que Kim Kardashian, she cut her hair short. This is how it is, the distraction. Kim Kardashian had her hair all the way down here, and now she has a haircut like me. You understand me? That's to distract the minds. The salt and pepper 500, Damon. You know what I'm trying to say. But these people don't want to hear this. You don't want to hear none of these things. You forgot that in January the 7th, there was a wildfire in California and the houses were melting everywhere and people lost gold and gold here, gold there, and gold was contaminated by other melting, materials. No sean lambones. I'm not feeling good today, guys. January the 7th, 2025. You know who was coming to the Pennsylvania Avenue in those days? That guy. That guy was coming to the house. You know what I'm trying to say? That guy was coming back. He was coming back. He took a little rest, and then he came back again. And as soon as he came back again, papi, you call him the way you want to call him, Nelson and Damon and all of you, But when he came back, as soon as he came back, they were betting, maybe the other person is going to win and we don't have to do this. Allegedly. I repeat, allegedly. Okay, you want to call him that? You call him that. Dick Mick in Florida. So they were there, let's see. And boom! Okay, it looks like it's coming. It looks like it's coming, so let's burn down California. Let's burn down California because maybe there's some files there of, Diddy P. Maybe there's some files there of, what's his name? The other guy, that it's a tipo malo, Sting. That's Sting, That guy, help me out with the name, You guys are good at helping me out with the names. Sting. I don't know what his name is, They burn everything down, They burn everything down. And forget about the hard drives, Island Man. It's increíble, papi. I gotta give it to you the whole movie. I gotta give you the whole movie. I gotta give you the whole movie. Y porque soy así, papi. So that over there in California, gold was, it was, se jodió. It was damaged, With the fire, it's never gonna get bad, but it could get mixed up with other, melting materials. Y se jodió todo, And they say that it was over there, a gentleman over there. They had too much. He had too much, pure gold. I'm only telling you that. You look into it, and that's all. You look into it. So what I'm trying to say, I'm sorry, is Mick. Did I say that word? I'm sorry, Doc Mick in Florida. Did I say that? I'm sorry. So, it's you gotta connect los botones, so you understand what's happening when the S&P 500 está virado al revés. Papi, it's telling you, man. It's telling you. I gotta watch tonight Wall Street. I gotta watch tonight Wall Street. I gotta, tengo que entretenerme en algo, la mente, And then you had over there, you had there in 2022, in Lahaina, Hawaii. They were throwing lasers at houses with blue roofs. I don't know what that means. Allegedly, I heard that, I heard these people saying these kind of things, But I'm telling you, there were lasers, throwing at, your house had a blue roof. You help me out because you guys know everything. And boom, some jungle juice. Forget, I'm getting too excited, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, it's like that, It's like that, and I have to tell you these things because if I don't tell you, nobody is going to tell you. I told you when the show first started, and I'll say it again. Bitcoin came out of nowhere. Bitcoin came out of nowhere. Who put it there? Allegedly, to me personally, the ICA. The owners, the real owners around. They put it there, and that's it. The same way they put, Bookface. The same way they put Bookface, all that kind of stuff. It's like that, papi. You know what it is that every person in the world. Listen to this. Eso hay que ser brutal, papi. Tiene que ser macabélico. Tiene que ser macabélico. I'm not even going to tell you in English what I said. I don't even care if I get a thunder lightning, in my TV tower station. I don't care. It goes off, the show is over, y me voy a dormir. Because today I'm telling you something that you guys need to, to understand. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't know about this, gracias, Thurston Howard III. Muchas gracias, Thurston. If you look right now at all these, TV channels of watches, those channels, they do watches, they sell watches and they buy watches and they sell you one, you buy back and forth. These people, the only content they have is to talk about buying gold. Porque papi, el partido, the game is in gold. The game is in gold. and it's getting out of control. It's getting out of control, and everybody is seeing it already. At least you 29 are seeing it already. You're seeing the light, la luz, la está viendo. How are you gonna tell me there's something that was invented in 2009? In 2009, when they were giving this, please buy me this for $4. Buy me this for $4. 4 pesos. Okay, we missed the bus. I missed the bus. I was too much, in my other busy life, But in today, $125,000. You know how much it costs today to do one of those coins? I don't even want to tell you. You guys should know this already. I don't have to tell you. You're gonna say to your coño, but Juan knew about this shit all along. Está bien, papi. Está bien. Está bien. You know how much it costs to produce one of those Bitcoins? The energy? You don't know about that. You don't know about that kind of stuff. You don't know about that kind of stuff, muchachos. Tú no sabes de esto. About this. Let me take a little breather, I'm giving you too much knowledge for free. Remember, what I give you is for free. And those people with all those channels out there, which they are watch dealers, that they do content, they're going this way now, the gold way. They're buying gold chains, gold chains. Papi, a gold chain today that has, I don't know, 170 grams. It was peanut before, but today it costs $18,000. Do you understand what I'm telling you? A chain that, some years back, you sold it for $4,000, $5,000. Today it costs $18,000. Ahí está el billete, papi. Ahí están los cuartos, los shekels, the pounds, pounds. You know what I'm trying to say? Lana, chelitos, cuarto, plata. No money, no honey. No hay, no money, no honey. Tú sabes, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on. And you got those people over there in the Bohemian Grove saluting the owl, but it's getting out of control because we're seeing, estamos viendo, el peor enemigo es el Internet. Por eso que allá in those countries, they don't let you have Internet. They want to keep on dumbing you down. Dumb down. I don't know those people. I don't know those people at all whatsoever. So you have all these people, they're buying gold. You see them in the street, with teeth missing, buying gold on 47th Street. You know what I'm trying to say? The 10 Commandment guy, with a hat, and he's giving people $5,000 for free in the streets. You have to be un lambón para querer a esa gente. You gotta be un lambón to believe those people. Some people told me that I'm gonna become a preacher. I don't want to be a preacher. I don't want to be a preacher. I want to help you people out. Porque están dormidos en la paja. Because you're sleeping in hay. Ellie Mae, Ellie Mae from the Beverly Hills, and she like to play with those, those pets, critters, they're melting everything they can find. They don't care. They a kid. I gotta stop this, man. This, I'm telling you. You know what it is, somebody, you're telling, you say these things and you make them funny and cute so you guys can relax. But don't tell me, because I have a grill of teeth is gold, I'm going to bring it to you, to sell it to you. No coman mierda, papi, coño, no hagan eso a la gente. Abusadores, sapos, un bonche de sapos, usando la humanidad, jodiendo a la pobre gente que están jodida. People out there walking the streets, fentanyl. You know what that is, man? Guys, come on, you have to have some kind of empathy. You have to have empathy, papi. No sean malo. La gente está jodido. The world is upside down. You shake those people, what they throw out is a button. A button. Y lo que viene, Julito, Julius, lo que viene and what's coming, let me tell you something. This gentleman right here, Julius Julius Miami. He says something that, we see it and we feel it. I said that in 2008, we had a big recession, right? In 2008. Maybe you guys forgot about it. Maybe you guys are too young. But then I said that I was reading already that they're saying that a new recession is coming. Again, like the one from 2008. And this gentleman, Julius from Miami, he says, yes, it's coming. Another one like the 2008, but this one is coming with steroids. Y ustedes están sacándose los mocos. You know what steroids is, papi? You know what steroids is? Es una jodienda. Thank you, papi, but it already hit. It surpassed the 4,000, so the number, the breaking record already, it broke it already, papa. It goes up and down, You understand me? So you have that, and then you have these people that today, I keep on talking to you about it, and I'm going to use different letters so you can understand me. They're using now CHT, CHT, play with the letters, CHT, I can't say that letter, so I say CHT. Do you understand that when I was in high school, hanging around with my girlfriend, she was a little cheerleader, unbelievable, true story, and we were doing a little bit of, that smoky stuff, happy smoky, we had a 4%, a 4% we had, we had a 4%, we have Sensimilla, Sensimilla, that was probably the best thing you can get. You know what I'm trying to say, And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have people roaming the streets with a potent. Somebody told me in this channel. Somebody told me this in this channel. Walking the streets with, man, you guys are not gonna believe me. I read something like 26% potent CHT, and they were laughing at me. My subscribers were laughing at me. Somebody told me, and listen to me, Scout's honor, I don't practice BSing. It was up there. They told me it was up there in the high 70%. Papi, te dejan loco. You don't think no more, man. You don't think no more. You cannot think. You cannot. No puedes. No. You become senile. You can't think no more. Oye, papi. You don't remember the commercial with the 2 eggs in the pan? They were frying the 2 eggs, and they will say that's your brain, And that was with a 4%, papi. That I remember my may God bless my mother and my father. I remember that a couple of times, I always denied it to the end. Then my mother would tell me in Spanish, hijo, ¿qué te pasa? Son, what's wrong with you? Tiene los ojos, you have your eyes injected. You understand what I'm saying? My mother would tell me that. My father would tell me in the car, are you doing, tú estás haciendo la cosa esa extraña, Are you esto? Because my eyes were red, when I was a younger man. If you ask me today, I'm a polished man, Soy pulido hoy, But back then when I was a young kid, papi, the people at the time, they can't even see no more, man. They can't even see no more. So I have to be the one to give you this information so you guys can see, see what's going on. Because what they're talking about, today, I'm more of a believer, exactly, vice incorrecto. Today, I'm more of a believer that it is true, that gold, why not? Why can it make it to $26,000 a troy ounce when this thing that was invented in 2009, today is at $125,000? No coman mierda. This is something that's been around since Moses. Moses for the 10 Commandments. When they were playing with the cow. You know what I'm trying to say. So what makes me think that that's not going to happen? Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, many years ago, and I'm gonna be brave enough to tell you, probably a good 10 years ago. I remember I was watching a show. I never forget this. I was watching a show. Maybe the show, listen to me, maybe the show was staged, maybe it was scripted, maybe it was all that good stuff. Oh, that's my ring. This is my wife gave me this. This is a Cartier ring that my wife gave me many, many years ago when nobody knew about this kind of fat ring. That's what it is, Alex. Saludo, Alex. Saludo. So many years ago, 18 karat, papi, 18 karat gold, all that good stuff. Yes, and it has rhodium, and it weighs like this thing right here. This thing right here must weigh at least 22 grams. Believable. I think even more probably. But let me go back to this. Thank you, papi. Thank you very much, Alex. I was watching the show, and maybe it was staged, it was scripted, all that good stuff. And I started watching the show, and I sat down. This is when it first came out. And this old man came into a pawn shop. An old man, a very old man. He must have been in his, he reminds me, when I still see him, he reminds me of Paco Gambino. Paco Gambino. Hear me out so you understand how far I go back. How far I go back, to connect the dots. This is like 10 years ago. So the old man walks into the pawn shop. He walks in and he wants to sell. He doesn't want a pawn. He wants to sell a vintage old car that he has. A vintage old car. Listen to me, if it was scripted, if it was scripted and staged, it worked like a charm. It was perfectly executed. Listen and learn. The man walks in, and he starts talking to the pawn shop owner, and they're interested in the car. The guy's going bananas. The owner of the pawn shop, he wants to buy it. He's looking at it, and they're arguing back and forth the numbers of the car. So an unbelievable car. It was worth all that money that he was asking for the car. Which I would think, why is it this guy not taking the car to a real car dealer? One of those auctions, to sell this beauty, right? So they're talking, and they finally, listen and learn, papa. They finally come into an agreement on the price of the car, right? I don't remember the price, but it was something $125,000, right? This is 10 years ago. And the old man, they shake on it and all that. And the old man tells the owner of the pawn shop, he tells the owner of the pawn shop, there's just one problem. Listen to this. Ábrase la cabeza, open up your heads, que no es solamente para pelo. So the old man says to the owner of the pawn shop, there's only one problem. And the pawn shop man says, well, it is. I'm going to buy you the car. You asked for 125, I'm going to give you 125. And the old geezer, let's call him Paco. Paco says, there's one problem. The problem is that I want you to pay me all this in pure gold. This is 10 years ago. And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to tell you, so you can watch it whenever you want. It worked like a charm. This was 10 years ago. He says, I want you to pay me in gold. So the man says, I don't know if I have $125,000 in gold. And they do their stage, and they go to the back and they walk around. And then he says, well, but I have to call this person. I can get it from the refinery, blah, 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 the sketch. And I'm looking at all this. And he says to the old man, no problem. I'm going to pay you the $125,000 in gold, pure gold, kilo. If you go by, if anybody is here, can anybody just go back how much was a kilo of gold 10 years back? 11 to 10 years back. Go back and tell me. Write it down there for me. So this show that I'm talking about, because I got to continue giving you guys knowledge. Maybe right now somebody will write down what it is. Somebody will write down what it is, right? Somebody will write down How much was a kilo of gold 10 years back? I know that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 46, 47, 48. So they pay him with the gold. The old man is happy with his gold. $26,000. Look at that. Look at that. Does anybody know the show I'm talking about? Does anybody know? Whenever you want, you can see this episode. The name of that show is called, and I don't even know if it's still live, they give it still, it's called Pawn Stars. You know Pawn Stars? You know the old man that had a lot of hair? You know, he was unbelievable, had black shirt, and his son is, has a shaved head, and he has another kid they call, Chumby, Chumby, and you know what I'm saying, Mr. Blair. You know what I'm saying. I'm telling them what's going on, Mr. Blair. Chumbley, and then the other kid with the, I forget his name. He's the guy that has a shaved head is his son. You know what I'm trying to say? It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. And I was looking at that, and as the months were going by, listen to this. So you understand the subliminal messages they've been giving all you lambones for years. But you don't want to connect the dots. You want to continue hopping around through life like bunny rabbits, and sandbags and tomato cans and possum kickers, and they're telling you. And ladies and gentlemen, I watched that, and I always stood in my mind that little old man Paco. Paco that sold his vintage Lincoln Continental. I don't know what it was, but you can look at it whenever you want. You look at it whenever you want. It's in that show, Pawn Stars, and they're there, papi. They've been telling us for many, many years. Prepárense para esta bomba. Prepárense para esta bomba. Get ready for this bomb. Get ready for this bomb. Papi, it doesn't make sense that a Bitcoin today costs $1.25 and gold is at $1.29. Something that it was invented by the ICA and put there. And I already told you, to produce with energy one of those coins, eso es el diablo. Eso es el diablo. Esto es algo, energía, energy. This is when AI or IA, whatever you call that, it comes in, papi. Son joven, correcto. Eso es así, Julius, eso es así. Y es una cosa de loco. It's a crazy thing that's going on, and it's right in front of your faces. It's right in front of your faces. And you might be thinking, pero si está a 4,000 pesos el troy ounce, it's $4,000 troy ounce. What? Papi, you know that Bitcoin that went down. Listen to me. A couple of years, Bitcoin went down. A lo mejor I'm wrong, but please correct me. I like to be corrected. Probably went down to, 30, 32, 34, 30, 30,000 Bitcoin, And people siguieron ahí otra vez. Boom! Back again. Back again. It's back up again. So, you're giving this opportunity to estos lambones que no tienen nada que ver. Un Bitcoin. Un Bitcoin hecho done by the ICA, implanted there. And you're going to tell me that gold has been here forever. You remember what I told you about Franco Pizarro? Franco Pizarro from 1532. They gave him a room, 22 feet by 17, full of gold. You understand? I need you guys to, pongan atención. This is something that, you guys need to be aware of what's happening and where we're going to, papi. Esto va hasta la luna. Let me tell you something. I believe there's going to be a moment here. I believe there's going to be a moment here that they're going to have to hand out again some kind of help to people. I don't want to say what kind of help, but they gave help in 2008. You can push a clunker car into a car dealer because they were gonna help out the car dealerships, the factories, you know, porque está jodido esto, papi. Esto no explotado. This really hasn't really sunk in many people. It really hasn't. I told people, I said, papi, esto está en candela. Esto está en, you know what I'm trying to say, Mr. Thurston Howard III. You know what I'm trying to say. You know, you know, they're going to have to, papi, listen, you go to the groceries, you go to do your groceries today, and it's impossible to try to fill up that cart. It's impossible. You can't. You can't fill it up. You know, you can't fill it up because está mira la comida está muy cara. It's very expensive. It's very, very expensive. El empleo, you know, workforce is not, you know, they say that it is, but you know, está jodido esto, you know, está jodido, you know. You got over there those people over there in Pennsylvania, you got those people in California, you have those people in Washington, D.C. Estamos jodidos, muchachos, y pónganse las pilas. Maybe you guys can't buy that gold, but at least you know what's happening already, you know, and the way it's moving. And if you buy gold for $4,000 an ounce, but where's it going to go now to? Where's it going to go to? It might go to $26,000. $26,000. That's where it might go. This is why these people that were there in Raleigh Fest, these people that were in Raleigh Fest last weekend, you know, chocando codo, dressed up with the monkey suit with the tie, they don't care because these people, papi, esa gente, those people are never gonna run out of money, man. Tú sabes, estamos jodidos, pai, tú lo sabes que estamos jodidos. Díselo en inglés, no tengas pena, díselo en inglés. Tell them in English, luxury gentlemen, tell them in English. You know, esto está malo, papi, esto está malo. I'm telling you that every single watch channel is talking about gold. And particularly the ones from New York City, over there on 47th Street, you know, the subway train jumper, you know, the 10 Commandments, you know, the genie with the skin tight hair with a man bun in the back, you know, and his sidekick, Sinbad, you know, the guy with the missing teeth. You know what I'm trying to say. Papi, no son pendejos. This is why these people are smart, you know. You know, they're not like the people that were in Raleigh Fest, you know. They're not like those people because those people, eso es otra cosa. You know, that's Johnson & Johnson, DuPont. You know what I'm trying to say? Ese tipo de material. They don't have, but these people, you have to give credit where credit is due, man. The people from 47th Street, esa gente son, you know, saluting. These people are always making money. You know, they don't care. The guy comes in with a chain and he tells them, he even speaks Spanish. You know, it's unbelievable, this kid. He speaks Spanish todo, with an accent and everything. I think his girlfriend must be Spanish, you know. He speaks Spanish and everything. I mean, how much you want for the chain? He said, oh, tell me, you tell me. And he said, oh, el oro está caro, gold is expensive. You know, the guy tells him, you know, he wears one of those hats, kangaroo, Gucci hats, you know. It's unbelievable, this kid, you know. I like to have him as a pet. It's unbelievable. But the kid has been taught by his parents, uncles, grandparents, you know, how to make money, papi. So the guy tells him, you know, this is expensive, you know. I can give you for the chain $17,000. It's all staged, but I'm trying to, you know, so you can see the light. Well, they come to a number, you know, and the guy says, can you give me $18,500 for it? He says, see the wallet, it costs that, but I can't, I don't have no meat left in the bone for me. What I'm trying to tell you is the guy buys the chain, you know, in the thing for 17, you know, and change. The guy's taking that chain somewhere else now, and he's getting 18.9. You make money, papi. Por eso que esa gente hay que respetarla. You gotta respect those people. You know, you gotta respect the way, they're not gonna starve. They're not gonna starve. You know, you got the other guy too, you know, Uncle Johnny, you know, Eddie Monster, you know, the guy that's, you know, Eddie Monster, you know, he's over there doing here. Porque son gente que están bregando, they're moving. No se queden como lambones parados. Don't stay like a statue. You know, don't do that. You know, move around, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys understand where I'm going with all this. They're hustlers, man. They're hustlers, and we're here waiting for the welfare check to come in. ¿Qué carajo welfare ni welfare? ¿Qué welfare ni welfare? They go out and get it. Because remember, those kids from 47th Street, they start breeding them 8, 9 years old. 8, 9 years old. You go to school with all these lollipops, and if you sell them, I'm going to give you 10. If you sell out of the 10, you sell 6, there's a future for you in the business world. So del carajo. You know, these people are unbelievable. They take their kids in a very, very young age and they teach them not to trust nobody. You don't know about this kind of stuff, man. You don't know about this stuff. I know because I had a friend of mine that he was, you know, he was Jewish, you know, and he would tell me, you know, he told me the stories. You know, the father takes the kid and puts him on top of a table. You know, 2 years old. 2 years old. The world is a business. 2 years old, the father puts him on top of a table. My friend tells me that Jewish, Hebreo, Hebrew, you know. I believe all that kind of stuff. You know, Mashugana, you know, Manishma, you know, Mashugana, Manishma. And he puts the son up there in the table. And the father tells the son, come on, throw yourself to me. And come on, throw yourself. I'm your father. Obey me. I'm not going to let you fall down. But this is the way they're teaching the kid already not to trust sweet Kino to me, Joaquin to you. You don't trust ever Kino. You don't trust Joaquin ever. And the kid puts himself on the table, and the father says, come on, jump. 2 years old, probably a year and 9 months old. And the kid, finally, the father, you know, gives him the mean face, and the kid jumps. And the father does this. And the little kid falls destroyed. The father tells him, this is a lesson for you to never trust nobody. That's how it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's why they are so good in 47th Street, the Diamond District. That's why they're so good, Papi. You think the people here from Miami have a shot with those people over there? You gotta be kidding me, man. They ain't got nothing on those people. You think the people from Aventura got anything from the people from Miami? Well, the people from Aventura, there's a lot of Jewish community over there, but they don't. You think the people from, you know, Boca, Papi, that is the school. That is the school. If nobody has told you where the school is at, you know, those people could never hang out in Raleigh Fest with the DuPonts. You know what I'm saying? The Johnson & Johnson, but they're good. They're good. They're good in a sector there, in the sector. They're good there. You know, they're not going to stop eating, you know. They're not going to stop eating. Their rent is going to be paid off. And another thing is, to me, es la raza más unida. It is, to me, the culture of most united, you know? Jewish people are very united, and I respect that. If they know that Kino is hurting and his business is falling down, and he needs to pay his rent, and he doesn't have material to sell, they all come together to help. Es unido, papi. Los otros no, somos muy egoísta, you know? I think I'm going to stop with this lesson. I'm going to put this one all by itself in chapter 29. This is going to be chapter 29, the $4,000 troy ounce of gold that reached today. But I want you to know that these people, this is why they're so good. You know, estos lambones aquí de Miami, lo que son unos partidos delincuentes, lo que son. You know, unos partidos delincuentes. Que todos están metidos en la manteca, en el traqueteo. You don't know what I said? I'm not going to tell you. You Google it. I'm not going to tell you. Más nada, papi. Eso es lo que hay, papá. Been there. Done that. Have a t-shirt. You know? ¿Tú entiendes? Eso es diferente. Esto es una sangrihuela. Sangrihuela. You know what a sangrihuela? My father would tell me that when I was a young man. Juan Felipe, no seas una sangrihuela. Unbelievable, my father. It's unbelievable, my father, you know? Thank you, Sodi. Thank you for telling me the price. So this is what it is, and you know we need to open up our horizons so we can start, putting the dots. Esto está jodido, papi. It's not a, my father. I said a story here last year, and I'm gonna say it one more time before I go into the watch market update. You know, when I was a young kid, I told you that we ate arroz, white rice with beans and Spam, right? Which that is nothing wrong with that, because today eating Spam is a luxury, es una delicadeza, But in my time living in the Bronx in New York, man, it was like, they would cut you down, they would find out, you're gonna eat Spam today, huh? You're gonna eat that Spam, the Spam, it comes in a little, can, and you open it up, That was the meat that we can afford. But anyway, my father was a real hard provider. And my father used to work in a company, and the owner of the company, he had an air condition. Many of you know this story already, but I have to tell you so you understand how this works, And what happens, how you learn things in life. And so my father, they gave him this air condition. My father found a potential client somewhere in Long Island, Not the Hamptons, just Long Island, La Entrada. Thank you, Thursday. You know the story, right? So listen to this, gentlemen, before I go into the watch market update. Exactly. They would change it up sometimes, the Spam, with other beans, this, that. Exactly. They would dress it up. So my father, and I say this story with so much happiness to you guys because it's part of my life. And like I told you, Paco Gambino always, I even get choked up, man. Paco Gambino would tell me, you tell them everything that you know before you leave this world. So I'm telling you, my life, So my father says to me, Juan Felipe, John Phillip, come with me to Long Island. I'm going to go see a customer in Long Island. So my father I look in the trunk, and my father has this big box, from those 70s, air conditioned unit. He's in the back, and he had like a Dodge Swinger, a Plymouth Swinger, one of those cars, And he put like a rope and he tied it. So I get in the car and I'm there, I'm probably like around, 10 years old, 9 years old. I'm trying to give you the same lessons that those people give to those kids in 47th Street. This is my lesson. So we're driving to Long Island. We get there. I'm gonna make it quick now. And my father gets to the guy's house. My father, so you bro? Yeah. He opens the trunk of the car, and he looks at the air condition, and there's a car parked on the side. And my father goes, oh my God, Mr. George. You have that car? That's incredible. I have the same one. My father tells the guy, Mr. George, you got that car. It's incredible. What a ride. I have the same one. My father says. Thank you very much, Sodi, for that super chat. Thank you very much. From the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. So the guy looks at my father and he says, really? You have that? Yes. And I'm there, 9 years old, with my hormones going crazy, la hormona, hormones going crazy, And I'm like saying, frog, where's that car at that my father says? In my mind, I'm thinking in my mind, man, where does my father have this car? Could this be like a James Bond car or something? I don't know about that car, and I don't know what happened to me. I must have had a malfunction in my head. Did I say, "Hey, Dad, you don't have that car"? My father almost had the sale done already, and I blew his cover. And I saw my father's face that, I still remember it. And you might think that it's a bad thing. No, it's a great thing because I can still remember his face. I can still see my father, man. And just to make the story quicker, the sale was over, and we were driving from the Bronx to Long Island is 1 hour, and driving back is 1 hour. It was the most quietest, ride back to the Bronx. My father told me these words. Cuando los adultos, I never forget this, man. When the adults are talking, don't ever get involved and don't ever talk. And I looked at him. I didn't even ask him, pero por qué? I didn't ask him. Man, at 9, 10 years old, I understood that my father wasn't being a liar. It was just he was trying to make it easier for the sale to go through. And he said that to make the gentleman happy, ba 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 ba. And you got the speech too, huh? Wow, man. And I never forget that. So it was a lesson that I learned. And from that time in my life of 9 years old, I honestly became a wiser man, if I may use that word. Okay, guys? All right? I'm going to give you a watch market update so you guys can continue on this evening. We've been talking for too long, right? And these are watches that somebody requested, and I'm going to give you these prices, right? Our first watch, ladies and gentlemen, is a Rolex Sky Dweller, reference number 336934, with a green mint dial, with an oyster bracelet, 42 millimeter. Retail price of that watch is $16,600. Sir, you do whatever you want. You do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch. Even if you've seen it up there, 25, 26, 24, 23.5. You see all that? We're talking about a used slider condition material watch. Used slider. Don't pay for that watch, and I mean don't pay for that watch more than $21,000. You do whatever you want. It's your money, and you spend it as you please. All right? Our next watch, ladies and gentlemen, is a Rolex white gold. White gold. Let me tell you something about this watch, man. This is, to me, one of the biggest, people ignore this watch so much, but this is a powerful watch, It's a Rolex white gold Sky Dweller with a cream white dial, 42 millimeter. Unbelievable looking time machine. The retail price of that watch is $55,400. Thank you very much, luxury gentlemen. Thank you very much, Papa. $55,400. And I'm going to tell all of you, ladies and gentlemen, if you can get your hands on that watch, it's all right. It has so much gold. It's a tank. Don't pay for that watch more than $27,000. You do as you please. Ladies and gentlemen, it's another Rolex yellow gold date, with money green dial, with a money green dial. Unbelievable watch, 40 millimeter, reference number 228238. Retail price is $44,200. It's a beautiful watch. And this watch, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta tell you the truth, as always, this watch has some nice meat left on the bone, okay? It has some nice meat left in the show. Thank you very much, DJ. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the kind words. And I'm gonna tell you, don't pay for that watch. Don't pay more than $51,500. It might sound a lot to you. It's what it is, I'm not telling you to buy it. I wouldn't buy it. But you need to hear these prices, so I'm giving them to you, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I have another Rolex Yacht Master, white dial, with some platinum, platinum on it, This is an unbelievable looking time machine. It's unbelievable, this watch. It's white gold, but it has platinum too on the bezel. Reference number 116689, and the retail price is $48,150. Monster watch, heavy. You know, that Yachtmaster that never made it big, you know? It was always in the backyard, you know, never made it big. And I'm going to tell you, you know, these are the watches that, you know, at the moment, you know, I keep on telling you, son los que tienen que comprar. That's where the money is at. You know, I'm telling you where the troy ounce they're saying, you know, allegedly. Everything that I have said here is all allegedly. Even my story to Long Island. I'm telling you, allegedly. Don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. Retail $48,150. Don't pay more than $24,000. That watch is, you know, it's your money is there, bro. Your money is there, you know? Thank you, Mr. Blair. Thank you very much. The king. You know who the king is? Let me show you. So when you talking to somebody, you say, hey, I'm only with these people. You know, the king. The king, that's all. You do that to them, the king. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Rolex Yachtmaster with a platinum bezel. Reference number 168622. 168622, excuse me. I can't see that well. But I'm telling you about this watch because if you guys get a phone call for this watch, you know, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna take the route to tell you, don't do it if they call you for it. This is a Yachtmaster. This is a 35 millimeter watch. 35. You know, with an oyster bracelet, a little platinum bezel. The Yachtmaster, the 35. It ain't the 40, the 35. And this watch has a retail price, ladies and gentlemen. This is crazy. Of $13,400. Sir, it's a no-brainer. Don't pay for that watch. This is dead in water. Dead. Does anybody know what I'm going to do not to pay for that watch? 35 millimeter Yachtmaster. You know? Unbelievable. Stainless steel. Oyster bracelet. Nobody knows? Okay, here it goes, ladies and gentlemen. 11.5. Wow, Renato said 11.5. Give me one more, you know? Just one more. 11.5. Está exagerado eso, coño. 11.5. One more. Come on. Somebody. I want to see it. Okay, here it goes. Don't pay for that watch. Don't pay for that watch more than $7,900. You do whatever you want. Look at that. Look at this. Look at Alex. Alex, you're on fire. Alex, you know about watches, but you've been quiet. Don't pay. Don't pay for that watch. You'll lose your buttocks. And it's dropping. And it's dropping, right? So you have that one. It's a 35 millimeter. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this watch. This is another Rolex Yachtmaster Oyster Flex. Hear me out, please. It's good for you guys. Who wants this watch? It has to be, you guys will help me out now. You know, Rolex Yachtmaster Oyster Flex, rose gold, 37 millimeter. 37, not 40, not 39, 37. 37. So if your AD calls you with this watch, ten mucho cuidado. Ten cuidado, you know, ten cuidado. Reference number 268655. Has a retail price of $28,500. Renato said $21,000. Renato, you're getting good now. You're getting good. You're getting very good. And don't pay, ladies and gentlemen, for that watch. For that beautiful Rolex Yachtmaster Oyster Flex rose gold 37 millimeter, reference number 268655, retail $28,500. Don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. Don't pay. Ladies and gentlemen, this watch is gold, rose gold. Nelson is saying $23,000, and Nelson, I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that watch more than $19,000. You do whatever you want. You say no to that. You say no to that. Oh my God, look at Alex again, calling it a dog with fleas. calling it a dog with fleas. This is why we do this, so you know what's going on. You know, es bellísimo. No. We never said that it's not beautiful. So all these watches are beautiful, Papa. All these watches are beautiful. What's not beautiful is the prices that they're charging you. I mean, right now, people, right now, what they're doing right now, they're involved in gold, pure gold. No sean lambones. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our last watch market update of the evening. And I want to thank all of you again. Ahead of, me leaving, I want to thank you already for being here with me tonight. I hope you learned something. I hope you got smarter, not dumber, smarter, you got smarter, and I was able to, to communicate with all of you out there. Really, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So again, thank you, all of you, for being here. Ahead of time, I'm telling you this. This watch is a Patek Philippe Cubitus, two-tone, rose gold with stainless steel, 45 millimeter with a blue dial. Unbelievable. No, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Damon. Thank you very much for being here always, for supporting the channel. And I mean that. This is the 45 millimeter, has a blue dial, and the bezel has rose gold, and the bracelet has stainless steel, in the middle, rose gold. Beautiful watch. I told you the other day that I love this watch. No, gracias a ti, Nelson. Gracias a ti, Mr. Blair. Thank all of you. Thank you all. But ladies and gentlemen, this watch has a retail price of $75,114. Do yourself a favor. Do you know what I'm going to turn out to pay for this watch? Quickly. Nobody knows? Here it goes. Don't pay more than $88,000. And take care, guys. Thank you so much again. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Like me and Sweet Kid Kino say always, take care and brush your hair. Good night, guys. Gracias, pa. Cuídate, Julius. Ciao. Thank you, Thurston. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. Gracias, Bert. Gracias. Thank you.